All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about Novo Nordisk, an absolute giant in the pharma world that just took a massive nosedive on the stock market. Now, when a titan like this stumbles, you got to ask yourself, is this a warning sign to get out, or is it the golden opportunity every investor is looking for? That's what we're going to figure out.
So imagine waking up to this number, a 10% drop before the market even opened. A drop that big, that fast, well, it gets people talking. And, more importantly, it gets them selling fast.
And that really brings us to the big question, right? Was this just a classic case of the market overreacting? You know, herd mentality, a single piece of bad news sending everyone running for the exits? Or is this a sign of a real crack in the foundation of a company that honestly seemed pretty much unstoppable?
So here's our game plan. We're going to look at what caused the tumble in the first place. Then we'll put the market's panic up against the cold, hard numbers. We'll also get real about the challenges the company is facing, but then look at the hope in their drug pipeline before we land on the final verdict from the experts.
All right, first up, what on earth happened that sent these shockwaves through the market? Let's get straight to the trigger.
It all came down to this. The company announced that their drug, semaglutide, had failed. Specifically, in trials, it couldn't prove it could slow down Alzheimer's any better than a simple placebo. You know, for a company riding such a huge wave of success, this was a very, very public failure.
But here's where it gets really interesting. While almost everyone was hitting the panic button, we're going to look at this through a different lens. We're going to see it through the eyes of analyst Julia Ostian, who watched this all go down and came to a totally different conclusion about what this news actually meant.
And this gets us right to the heart of the matter. It's the classic battle, isn't it? Emotion versus data. The market reacted with its gut, but Ostian, she went straight to the numbers.
Ostian had this absolutely brilliant way of putting it. She called the Alzheimer's drug a lottery ticket. It wasn't a pillar of the company, it was a long shot. A high-risk, high-reward bet that, yeah, it didn't pay off. But its failure didn't change a single thing about the profitable core business of Novo Nordisk.
This slide just lays it out so perfectly. Over on one side, you've got the market's panic, all fixated on this one single failure, which leads to emotional, short-term selling. And on the other side, the analyst's reality, a cool, rational, long-term look at the company's core business, which, by the way, was still as strong as ever.
And if you want proof of that core strength, here it is. I mean, just look at this chart. Since 2015, the company has pretty much tripled its revenue. We're talking going from $16 billion to almost $50 billion. This does not look like a company that's about to fall apart. Okay, and here's the part that is just wild. Even with that incredible growth we just saw, the stock is now cheaper compared to its earnings than it has been in a decade. Its valuation has hit a historic low. So you've got this massive growth on one side and a bargain bin price on the other. That huge disconnect is exactly what an analyst like Ostian sees as a major opportunity. Now look, it's not all smooth sailing. To get the full picture, we have to be honest about the very real challenges the company is up against. That market panic didn't come from nowhere.
And they're facing a bit of a perfect storm. You've got intense competition from their biggest rival, Eli Lilly, forcing them to cut prices on huge blockbuster drugs like Wegovy and Ozempic. Internally, they're cutting a lot of jobs. And on top of all that, there's always political pressure on Big Pharma. These are not small problems.
But while those headwinds are definitely real, the company isn't just sitting back and taking it. To fight back, they're looking ahead to what's coming down the development pipeline in the very near future. And they have two potential game changes on the horizon. First up is Casigri Sema, a new drug that's showing even better weight loss results. We're talking around 22%, and, this is key, with fewer side effects. Then there's an oral pill version of Wegovy. If this gets approved, it would be a massive deal. Think about it, so much easier to make, to ship, and for people to take. Okay, so we've seen the panic, we've seen the solid numbers, we've looked at the real risks, and we've seen the future hopes. So how do we wrap this all up? What's the final verdict? The analyst's final rating is a hold. So what does that actually mean? Well, it's not a signal to sell, but it's not a screaming buy now either. It basically means that even though the company is fundamentally strong and the price looks good, the stock is still in free fall. The smart move, in her view, is to wait for the dust to settle before putting more money in. And this really brings us to the final thought from our analyst, and it's all about perspective. If you're a day trader, this kind of volatility is a complete nightmare. But if you're in it for the long haul, this period of uncertainty could be the very thing that sets you up for some serious rewards down the road.
You know, when you step back, this whole story about Novo Nordisk is a perfect case study in how the market thinks, or doesn't think. And it leaves all of us with a much bigger question. In a world that's all about speed and quick trades, could it be that the most powerful tool you have as an investor is just a little bit of patience?